After that, lunch passed quickly. Marc didn't return to the cafeteria, not that I expected him to. I kept thinking about the incident with the table. Maybe I was just overthinking things after all. I guess even vampires had to deal with stupid high school drama. It probably wasn't anything to get worked up about. After lunch came art, then my study period. It was sort of an informal, pseudo-free period that I usually took in the cafeteria, though the library was also an option. I had learned after the first day that no one used the library for studying, at least not for studying their actual classes. The cafeteria was more comfortable, so that's where I started going. Typically, we didn't get much supervision. Our teacher liked to disappear shortly after the bell. Grant. I normally sat alone, but today as I walked in, I saw Marc sitting in his usual spot in the far corner. Maybe I should sit with him. I told myself I just wanted to get all our reading done so we could focus on studying for the exam, but I just sort of wanted to check in with him, really. Man, have I always been this nosy? I didn't know, but it didn't stop me from heading toward him. I was halfway there when I realized Adrian and the others were sitting a few tables away. Were they in this class with us? I couldn't remember having seen them before, but it was possible they were among the library lurkers. I ignored them and went up to Marc's table. Hi. He looked up with surprise when I spoke. Is it okay if I sit here? I thought we could use the time to finish up the reading, then review for Friday's test. I mean, if you want. If you'd rather study alone or whatever, that's fine.
You can sit if you like.
Oh. Zoom. I was a little surprised he said yes. I pulled up a chair and slid my book bag onto the table. I shot him a furtive look as I pulled out my playbook. So, we were nearly done, I think. I started to flip through the pages. We can probably get through the rest of it this period if we just...
Why did you really sit here?
I looked up at him. Busted. I was... Decisions. Like, if we were after chapter 5, I would go for I was worried. Because I feel like we would have been a little more established in our relationship, but we're still like... I know William's like, you guys are really good friends, but we're still kind of just acquaintances that happen to sit together in class some of the time and go out for tea and stuff. He's also my bodyguard, but that's beside the point. So I'm like, is it too personal? Of course, he read my mind. I also don't want to talk to him about personal things in the middle of class. Like, if we were at the club room, or even at the murder, I think I would be more inclined to say I was worried, are you okay? But because we're supposed to technically be studying right now, and Adrian's like listening 2 tables away like a creepo, I'm kind of inclined to say, let's study. We can talk about it later, like tomorrow, for over tea and coffee? I really wanted to ask. Marc was even giving me an opening. But the romantic music is playing, and I'll take it as a good sign. But the look on his face wasn't encouraging, to be honest. I doubted he wanted to discuss his personal issues with me, and I felt guilty for coming over with ulterior motives. It wasn't like I was trying to pry. I was just worried. But maybe Elliot was right. I shouldn't stick my nose in. The only relationship Marc and I really had was that of classmates. Yeah, that's the thing. I shouldn't get carried away. I just wanted to study, okay? Since I didn't know how much time you'd have the rest of the week. That's all. Marc raised an eyebrow and sighed.
You could say that, in a manner of speaking, they disagree with some of my father's business practices.
Okay, it's just like, I'm gonna ignore what you said and answer what you were thinking. Okay, so much for not just coming out and saying it.
As well as the way my family has handled some of our internal affairs.
So he was going to call my bluff on that one. But, I mean, he chose to tell you, I guess, so that tells you how close he regards you, I guess? Maybe we are more than acquaintances at this point. I set my playbook down and gave him a serious look. But what does that have to do with you?
There's a great deal about our society that you'll never understand.
Our society. So they really are vampires. That's true, I guess.
It isn't something that concerns you. And it isn't something that warrants pity. Don't be overly concerned with it.
You say that, but...
You have your own concerns. Worry about them.
Right. Well, that's what I was trying to do until you brought it up.
Is that right?
Are we going to read or not?
I think I'll go to the library instead. I've had enough Shakespeare for one day.
Why must you be so tsundere? He gathered his things and left me there alone. I let out a long sigh and slumped down in my seat. Adrian, you better not come over here and sit with me. I will smack you with this book. Well, that's what you get for sticking your nose in. You should have expected it. I mean, it could have gone worse. He gave you, like, a crumb. Which is like a big slice of cake coming from a tsundere, basically. I know to us it's like... to us it breaks our voices. To us, it's a little crumb. But from the tsundere, it's a big slice of cake, so... we'll take our crumb. After the less than stellar study hall, I decided to spend the rest of my free period in the club room. There was no one else there, which meant a lot of peace and quiet just for me. I settled onto the sofa and got my books out. Now, Crimbles. I flipped to the section I'd marked previously and settled back against the pillows as I started reading. Crimbles were a type of changeling, a fairy that was raised by humans after fairies kidnapped a human child. Because fairies were jerks like that. Alright. Tell me about them Crimbles. Okay, thought I skipped over something. There we go. Fairies have always had a bit of a fascination with humans, so it comes as no surprise, really, that they have something of a penchant for, you know, kidnapping them on a whim. Usually they take children, but there is some evidence to suggest they're not above carrying off adults as well. In fact, there was a case in the late 1800s of a man who burned his wife alive because he claimed she'd been taken by fairies, and it was trying to get her back by killing the changeling. Scary. I actually did read about that case. It's true. Apparently, they had a thing for stealing babies. Crimbles were just one type of changeling. There were many variations of that particular bit of lore. Crimbles usually grew up disfigured and strange-looking, then led lonely lives because of it, but they were really gifted with music. If, by some happenstance, the original parents were ever able to get their child back, something the book neglected to explain how to do, the child would have no memory of their time with the Fae. Just a sort of vague recollection... Why can I not read that? Just a sort of vague recollection of beautiful music. Here we go. I made a little mark beside that. Nothing else about that story fit my situation, but it might warrant looking into them further to see if I could find more information about that amnesia thing. No memory, huh? That seemed to imply that fairies erase memories, didn't it? Or... was there some inherent quality of fairy that made people lose their memories of it when they left? Like some sort of defense mechanism? That could lead to a whole slew of new theories about my disappearances. To be honest, I'd never thought much about what might have actually happened during that time. I'd always imagined I'd just been wandering around, lost. What if I had been with other fairies during those times? Or something. I had no way of knowing, really, but it wouldn't hurt to mark this as a possible cross-reference for my research. I tapped the pen against the journal. Besides, I'd also had that strange memory of music from some of my dreams, even from a couple of my sleepwalking episodes. It was another pseudo-connection that didn't quite pan out, but every little clue I found just convinced me that this fairy research was putting me on the right track. Or close to the right track, anyway.
Nora Lewis.
I started when someone spoke my name. Yeah, like, the only one who ever calls me by my full name is Velos' dad, so I figured it must be Velos. Looking up, I realized Velos was behind me with a perplexed look on his face.
Do you not have class right now?
Oh, I have a free period right now, so there's nowhere else I need to be.
Are you not assisting another teacher during this period? I was under the impression most students in your position helped out for extra credit when possible.
I haven't worked anything out with any other teachers, actually.
I see. So you've come here to work on your research.
I thought I'd try it for today.
What do you usually do during this period?
Read or draw somewhere else. Library, cafeteria, wherever.
I see. In that case, if you would be willing to occasionally run errands for me, I wouldn't mind allowing you to use the club room during your off period.
Oh, sure, I guess.
Very good. Then would you run this paperwork down to Mrs. Roberts? She teaches literature on the first floor.
I love Mrs. Roberts. Right, I know her. I held my hand out for the papers, and Velos handed them over.
Thank you.
No problem. But, for the record, if you wanted my help, you didn't have to try to barter use of the club room for it. I don't mind running errands sometimes. He smiled faintly.
I'll remember that. And Miss Lewis?
Yeah?
I am rather busy at the moment, but if you need help in your research, you shouldn't hesitate to ask.
If I hit any roadblocks, I will. Thank you. Aw, Velos is so kind. I left him there and started toward the stairs. It didn't take long to drop off the paperwork. Mrs. Roberts didn't have a class and was just grading papers. She thanked me and sent me on my way. While downstairs, I decided to get a bottle of water from the cafeteria. I didn't know if anyone had restocked the mini fridge in the club room, and didn't want to walk all the way up and find it was still empty. Marc kept some extras in the room somewhere, but they were apparently for his exclusive tea-making use. I hadn't been able to find them, so I assumed they were in one of the locked cabinets. Water hog. There was no one else in the cafeteria as I surveyed the vending machines and their very sadly depleted drink options. Well, there was one filtered water, so I just got that. It wasn't as nice as spring water, but whatever. I wasn't going to be a water snob. Like some people. PC outcast. I bent to retrieve my overpriced bottle when someone behind me startled me out of my reverie.
Ah, you got the last one.
I spun around at the sound of the unfamiliar voice. Yeah, I knew it was gonna be you. You're gonna start causing trouble, aren't you? Adrian Wallace was standing right behind me. He'd been popping up a surprising amount lately, though that was usually because Marc was nearby. I eyed him warily. What's he doing here? Sorry. I guess I did.
You're Nora, right?
Yeah? I moved aside so he could get to the machine.
No class this period.
No, I have a free period.
Same here.
I edged away from him, figuring I would try to leave. This was just too awkward. I didn't know why he was suddenly talking to me. Well, it was nice chatting with you.
Wait, hang on a sec.
He quickly punched in something on the machine and pulled a drink out.
I'll walk with you. Where are you heading?
No. How about... No. You don't have to do that.
I know, but I don't mind. Even though I've seen you in class, we've never really gotten the chance to talk or anything.
Well, it's hard to talk in class anyway. I mean, without getting yelled at and all.
Yeah, I guess so.
He gave me a disarming smile. No fangs. That meant he was a natural vampire like Marc. Interesting.
So, you don't want to walk with me?
Ugh. No, it's not that. I'm going up to the 4th floor, so...
Me too.
And thus I acquired a companion. I said no, but yeah! Come along. Marc, when you question me about this later, I thought no in my head, I swear. We walked out of the cafeteria together quietly. I really didn't know what to make of him. He was being all friendly now, but I couldn't forget that nasty smile he'd given Marc at lunch. Plus the way he'd stared at me after, though I guess I had been staring at him as well. Still, though. Oh, you know what I just realized? He doesn't have his gloves on. The gloves are off! What does that mean? Alert! Alert! The gloves are off!
So you usually leave a little early, right? But not today.
I'm normally still here at this time anyway. But yeah, today I'll be staying for a while. I sometimes tutor someone, but today we aren't meeting.
Marc Lowe, isn't it?
I raised an eyebrow. So that is why he's talking to me. It didn't take him long to broach the subject.
What's that look? You're his friend, right?
Friend is a strong word. We're more like friendly acquaintances at most.
I see. I was kind of wondering. I don't see him with others much. And you guys looked like you had a fight or something during study hall.
He's not very subtle, is he? Or something. It wasn't really a fight. We walked in awkward silence for a moment. I could feel him giving me surreptitious glances. I wasn't sure if he was trying to get a read on me or what.
So, how are you liking Pine Hollow so far?
Oh. Well, I mean... fine? I've lived here before. I even went to the school before.
Oh, that's right. I think I remember hearing everyone talk about that for a few days.
Who does this guy think he's fooling? Yeah. There's really no one else it could have been, right? I mean, there aren't that many new students popping up.
I guess not. You know, you're different than what I imagined.
Oh? How did you expect me to be?
You hang around Marc. I thought you'd be a pushover like most people are with him.
I don't hang around Marc. I tutor him. That's all.
Have I done something to make you mad at me?
Mad wasn't the right word. I just found it suspicious that he was suddenly speaking to me. Which didn't sound much better, really. Then again, maybe he just said hi because he recognized me and was being polite. It was pretty paranoid to assume he approached me just because of Marc or something. I should probably be less quick to be suspicious of him. Girl. All the sus. All of it. Great. Now I'm becoming Spencer. Nah, you're not becoming Spencer. You're not that bad. I exhaled slowly, and this time gave him a smile. No, you didn't. I'm sorry. I'm a little tired, that's all.
It's okay. I was just worried there for a sec.
Sorry about that. Like I said, tired.
Well, I'm sure moving in and getting settled is stressful, especially when you immediately get roped into tutoring another student.
I don't mind tutoring. The rest has been kind of... Moves are always like that, though.
So, which club are you heading up to?
I shot him a sidelong look. Paranormal Mysteries. You saw me go in there yesterday, right?
Oh, you're right now that I think about it. It didn't really dawn on me at the time that's where you were going.
Come to think of it, Allie had said all the paranormal students were. Which meant... you're in it as well, right? Adrian smiled slightly as if he hadn't expected me to say that.
Officially, yeah, I am. I guess now it makes sense that Marc hangs out with you.
I'm not gonna say, you don't think that's the only reason he talks to me? Alright. I mean... was that your big goal? Woo! News, I'm a cryptic! Ooh! Is that why you said hi today? To figure that out? He looked a little surprised at that. I guess it had been a bit blunt, but I didn't really see a need to dance around it. Maybe Marc is rubbing off on you more than you care to admit?
No. Is that what you thought? That I was talking to you because of that?
I shrugged. I wasn't sure what else I was supposed to think about it. Until today, we've never really spoken, despite that we have classes together.
You're the one who just said we can't really talk in class.
Not even a hi?
I talked to you yesterday.
Because I ran into you and you said ow. That hardly counts. I know you saw me walk with Marc this morning. You were watching me at lunch, and again during study hall. Not to sound all paranoid, but I mean... it did strike me as a little weird that you were suddenly saying hi. Adrian laughed a little sheepishly.
I wasn't following you around or anything, if that's what you think. I was heading in the cafeteria for water already, and I saw you. So it seemed like a good time to say hello, that's all. I was curious about you. I won't lie about that. But I wasn't trying to be creepy or anything. Sorry if it came across that way. Anyway, you got pulled into the club pretty fast, didn't you?
I was found out pretty much on my first day here.
Oops.
It's not like I was trying to hide it or anything. I just didn't know about any of it.
Seriously? You're a cryptic and you didn't even know? That's rare.
So I've heard.
So this all must be pretty weird to you, right?
Yeah, well... not going to lie, it's pretty bizarre. I'm coping. I mean, what else can a girl do when she finds out she's Fae, right? I mean, besides getting accosted by a Spriggan right off the bat. Oh sure, yeah, just throw out to everybody and their pet dog that you're a Fae. Did you know I'm a Fae? Did you have to specify? Nora.
Whoa, really? A Spriggan? I've never seen one. I didn't even know we had them in the area.
It was relocated. I had mixed feelings about that. I mean, it lived there, and because of me, it got ousted from its home. I was relieved, but kind of sad. When we reached the club, I stopped just outside. Well, thanks for walking me up.
I didn't mind.
Okay. I stepped into the club room, surprised when Adrian followed me. Aren't you going back to art club? I thought that's why you came upstairs.
They're not doing anything right now. I'd rather stay and chat with you. I didn't even know the Mysteries Club had a new member until just now. And now I'm really curious.
You're going to be disappointed, I'm afraid. I'm not that interesting. I went back to the sofa and Adrian quickly joined me.
Oh, I don't know about that. So anyway, what was the Spriggan like?
Big? Creepy looking? I didn't really get a great look at it. Too much screaming and panicking.
A Fae who's afraid of other Fae?
That was like a day after someone said I might be Fae. So yeah, I was terrified. I'm still learning about all this stuff. I held up one of the books as evidence. He took it from me. I didn't notice until his fingers brushed mine that he wasn't wearing his usual gloves. Probably the first time I'd ever seen him without them. His finger seemed to linger against mine for a split second. Our eyes met and then everything went blank. Oh. He suddenly jerked his hand away. A thought suddenly occurred. Can these telepathic vampires sense the thoughts of Rule? Can they sense that there's two in Nora? Is that why with the touch they can they like jerk away because there's like, oh, there's two of them in there? In which case, Marc, have you known for a while? Oh no. Suspicions. Reflexively, I jerked mine back as well. He looked down at his fingertips, rubbing them together slightly.
Sorry,
It's okay. Marc does the same thing sometimes. I kind of assumed it was a weird vampire thing. No offense.
Really?
I shrugged. I don't think he likes touching people, really. It seems to bother him.
I see. I'm sorry about that. I usually...
Okay. So why didn't you have your gloves on? He pulled his gloves out of one of his pockets and slipped them on his hands. I noticed he didn't deny the vampire thing, so I was probably on the money regarding that one.
I usually just wear these.
What's that about? He picked up the book, frowning slightly as he turned it over in his hands.
So you're really some kind of fae?
Well, that's what we think anyway. I mean, it's the leading theory. Apparently the agency thinks so. I have no reason to believe they're wrong.
Interesting. I've never met a fae like you before.
Really? How so?
Most fae give an impression of being sort of frail, you know.
They do? I thought of Ewan and Brenna. Neither seemed particularly frail to me. Ewan was pretty much the opposite of frail.
You're not like that at all.
Oh? How do I seem less frail than Ewan? He could probably snap me in half with his little finger. There was a part of me that wondered just how much I should share about myself. I mean, I didn't know this guy. He disliked Marc. And he'd basically admitted he was talking to me for the sole reason that he'd seen me interact with Marc. Was that really just him being curious? But even knowing that, I couldn't seem to stop myself from answering. Hypnosis? Well, at this point, we don't really even know what sort of fae I am or anything.
That's why you're reading these.
Part of the reason, yeah. Just want to find some answers. I gave him a sidelong look. You're a vampire, right? He smiled slightly.
Did Marc tell you that?
Oh, Elliot, actually. Elliot Damiani.
Oh, him. We don't interact with him much, so I tend to forget about him.
How do you forget about someone just because you don't interact with them? Can I ask you something? Kind of related?
Sure.
Don't laugh, okay?
I make no promises.
Ah, you're gonna ask him? You should have asked Marc or Elliot. You're gonna ask random vampire suspicious boy this question? Girl, I am disappointed. Do vampires read minds? I mean, can they?
Oh. I wasn't expecting that question. Yeah, some can. Mind reading, mind controlling in some cases.
Like you. Vampires have this sort of innate ability to charm and manipulate people. It seems to be tied into their natural telepathic abilities. It's a much stronger ability for natural vampires, so I guess that's why Marc has so many people at the school falling over themselves to be around him, despite how much he basically ignores the attention. Everyone has apparently figured out it's pointless to try to talk to him, so they just admire him from afar. As they should.
Shapeshifting. They're all fairly common vampire traits.
Gosh darn it, Adrian. Shapeshifting. Another common ability for most vampires, natural or infected, is the ability to shapeshift. A lot of vampires turn into animals like wolves or bats. Vampire wolf. Man, that'd be strange. Sometimes they can even turn into sentient plants? But of course, there are more unique transformations as well, such as fog or mist, which aren't even animate. If vampires can turn into inanimate objects, I have to wonder if there's ever been a vampire who transformed for the first time, only to realize they got the worst transformation of them all. A toothbrush or something. That's great. I love Nora.
Oh, why ask that?
Oh, just wondering. So Marc can read my mind? I knew it! That jerk hadn't said a word about it either. Wait, does that mean Adrian can read my mind?
Nora, you know, about what we were talking about earlier. Actually, I was a little worried. That's why I talked to you today.
Worried?
I had no idea you weren't human. So, for someone as socially inept as Marc to be interested in a human, especially when, given his past, he's so uncomfortable dealing with them.
Wait, socially inept? I guess that's one way to describe him.
You thought he was just stuck up?
Well, I mean, isn't he?
He just doesn't know how to interact with people.
Huh.
You probably didn't know, but he hasn't spent much time outside the house except the last few years when he and his cousin started school here.
His cousin? Marc has a cousin here? More importantly, why was Adrian worrying about Marc if they didn't like each other? I didn't understand any of this.
He was really socially awkward when he started, and it got worse after Alex was expelled.
Alex? Alex?
He didn't tell you.
Well, we just talk about Shakespeare. Tell me what?
There are a lot of people in the vampire community who hate his family, and hate him for being a part of it.
Because
of things his family has done. Things that have negatively affected all of us.
I'm confused. If Marc hasn't done anything wrong personally, then... I mean... to hate him just for being part of his family is kind of... well... stupid.
Well, you're not a vampire, so I wouldn't expect you to understand.
I don't have to be one to know that kind of grudge is stupid.
You don't mince words, do you?
Nope.
I've noticed that in class, too. Actually, I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. Even before I saw you with Marc.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, Nora, I'm with you on that facial expression. Really?
You sound skeptical. That kinda hurts.
If you've always wanted to talk to me, how come you never have?
We try not to interact with humans beyond what's really necessary to, you know, function normally. I'm glad you're in the club. I'm glad you're not one of them.
One of them? Somehow it sounded so cold when he said it that way. If you hate Marc and you dislike humans, why were you so worried about the two of us? Why don't you worry about Marc and William, then?
I never said I don't.
Why? Is it an issue for a vampire and human to be friends?
Anytime a vampire spends that much time with a human, it's just a vampire protecting his prey.
Marc wants to eat William? Wait, you thought Marc wanted to eat me? How is that funny?
Well, I mean, vampires are predators. It's natural to deal with people in terms of predator and prey. Or did you think he was protective because he cared?
I never thought he was being particularly protective, actually. Just kind of naggy. And if that's why you started talking to me today, I'll tell you what I told Marc. I will fight back.
I kinda want to see that.
Marc said the same damn thing.
Maybe I should give it a try.
Ah! I held a book up to fend him off. Don't you dare! Adrian shifted slightly closer, and I glared at him over the top of my book. I was pretty sure he was kidding, but still.
Nora?
Ah! Elliot for the win! All these vampires want Nora. The sudden voice startled me. I jumped up without thinking about it.
Ali asked me to tell you that she'll go ahead and take you home now, before club starts. That way you don't have to wait.
Oh, okay. I'll head right down. I grabbed my things and rushed to the door.
It was really nice to meet you, Nora.
Yeah. Same. I guess. Thank you for escorting me. Elliot and Adrian didn't exchange a single word, something that wasn't lost on me, and Adrian never explained why he was so worried about seeing me with Marc. And what was all that stuff about Marc's cousin being expelled? There was definitely some history there. Elliot was uncharacteristically silent as we walked to the stairwell together. Everything okay?
Yeah, so how did you end up meeting Adrian?
Oh, we ran into each other in the cafeteria. He followed me back to the club, that's all. Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
What is it?
No. It's nothing.
It doesn't look like nothing.
I just wasn't expecting to see you talking to him.
Ah. Well, I wasn't expecting it either.
Was everything okay?
Yeah, he was just being weird. Are all vampires so weird? Well, not you. I mean, you're pretty normal.
Natural vampires are just... well, they were never human to begin with.
That was true, I guess.
Nora, be careful about getting involved with them, okay?
I'm not trying to get involved. He just showed up. And I wasn't exactly hugely polite either. He just didn't go away.
He didn't do anything weird.
He touched me with his gloveless hands. No. I think he was just worried because he saw me with Marc a lot lately and thought... I don't know. I don't know what he thought.
He said that he was worried about seeing you with Marc.
Yeah. But then he rambled about not liking Marc's family. And he'd mentioned... Alex. I didn't know if I should ask about that. Marc hadn't said anything about it, and it seemed pretty nosy to butt in that far.
Look, you shouldn't worry about it too much, okay? There's a lot of history between Marc's family and the others in the vampire community. Even I only know parts of it because I'm just the first generation infected. A lot of them consider me an outsider too.
Well, in any case, I have my own issues to worry about. I'd rather just focus on that and stay out of any vampire drama.
probably for the best.
Thanks for coming to get me.
No problem. Allie didn't want to text since she wasn't sure where you'd be.
Huh? Huh? Do texts no texts work in the club room? Explain. You don't want to... I'll just get the text wherever... No? I'm glad she sent you in lieu of a text, but... Okay. See you tomorrow.
Same.
He left me at the front door, and I went to find Allie so she could take me home. I returned to my room, still toweling off my hair after a long, hot shower. As I flopped on my bed, I eyed one of my borrowed reference books, wondering if I should try to read a little more before bed. Then again, maybe that's why I've been having weird dreams lately. My phone chimed and I reached for it instead of one of the books. Hello to you too.
I thought I told you to not talk to anyone weird.
I didn't! I stayed in the club room the whole time.
Remember to be careful.
I am being careful, thank you very much. Mom. Not that I have to justify myself to you. I swear if Marc replied right then with, I'm more like your father, I would have lost it. Coming straight from Adage's route, I would have completely just died. I thought I'd probably annoyed him with that last remark because he didn't respond for a while. I was just about to give up and go to bed when my phone chimed again. Don't you dare, Marc. Aww. He said goodnight.
Good night, Nora.
That surprised me. Huh. A goodnight text like that felt weird. I texted him goodnight as well, but didn't receive a response after that. I set my phone aside and went to turn out the light. Maybe I just forgo reading and try to get some sleep.